one concept that I think about a lot, possibly because I have a 7-year-old daughter in my house, is the idea of fairness, right? Anybody got kids in here? So y'all are familiar with like the term, that's not fair, it's not fair. That's a very powerful statement. Like the notion of fairness is something that children glom onto at a certain age and obsess over. And it's very much self-directed. It's very much inward looking. It's about, are things fair to me, right? Did my sister get more ice cream than me? If she did, that's not fair. I demand reparations, right? But
which, again, makes people go.
Yeah. But, you know, embedded in that idea of fairness is the beginning of social consciousness. If you can, in a child or really any person, take that self-centered desire for fairness and turn it around so that it faces the world and convey the idea that things should not just be fair to you, but also to other people, that's the beginning of changing somebody's mind, changing somebody's heart on a visceral level. I should say mind instead of heart to go with what Kamau just said. And that sounds very basic, and maybe it is, but it's an impulse that kids develop all on their own that 9 times out of 10 gets lost by the time they reach adulthood or voting age. That idea of fairness to other people. So you see this divide all the time. Like, I've been in front of audiences frequently, and I like to stay strapped with a lot of statistics, you know, factual, empirical evidence to support my claims. You know, so I could do that all day, but if I say, for example, there was a post-Katrina study that looked at the way that a FEMA emergency hotline responded. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this. Responded to people's requests for emergency housing. And the reason I like to quote this study is because there's a lot of confusion in this country, particularly on the part of young white kids who are caught up in this idea of fairness, which is why they don't like affirmative action, because it seems unfair to them based on a very surface understanding of fairness. There's a lot of lack of understanding about the playing field. Is it level? Is racism a thing of the past or of the present? How should I feel about it? The reason this study is interesting is because the playing field has just been leveled. Like New Orleans has literally just been leveled. Motherfuckers are homeless. And at this moment of structural equality, what the hotline does is reify structural racism, because if you're perceived as being white, it's not even relevant whether you actually are. It's based on your voice. You're 73% more likely to be given emergency housing if the perception is that you are a white caller, if they check that box. When I cite that study in front of a group of young, you know, high school or college students, hands go up immediately. White kids want to challenge that study. They don't want to challenge anything else I've said. They take it at face value. But when I quote that study, they want to know how it was conducted. They want to, they want to know the sample size and shit, right? Because it's incomprehensible to them. It implicates them. It makes them feel bad about themselves. It smacks the fairness right in the face. And they don't know what to do with it. And they're caught up in a really complicated pathology of wanting things to be fair, of wanting to believe things are fair, of cultural capital and actual capital having diverged widely in this country, because cultural capital is coded as blackness more and more. They feel locked out of a lifestyle that they want to attain. They don't feel like they can be as cool as the people they see on TV. The most conspicuous consumption they see in their lives is being done by black people. Like, that's who's got the flashiest shit. That's who's in the videos. That's who's doing all the shit that they aspire to. But they don't understand that cultural capital has nothing to do with hard capital. That rates of inheritance and wealth and poverty have not changed significantly in a generation, or if they have, they're going backward. So they want to feel like the playing field is level. They want to object to everything that suggests that it isn't, and they're confused as fuck, and they don't know what to do about it. And so they want to challenge any study, any evidence, any empirical shit that suggests something that they don't like. They're like scientists who want to kind of cook the books when they do the experiment. They want the experiment to happen, but they want it to confirm their beliefs. And they're really, really confused. But they're also young enough that they still believe in fairness. And that's the kids that I think it's actually most important to reach, because they haven't completely curdled yet. They're not going out and supporting Donald Trump yet. They're still open to this idea They have more sort of sympathetic, symbolic empathy and understanding, so they think, for people who live differently than them of any generation ever. But it's going to be ultimately insignificant until unless some kind of real intervention is made, unless some kind of actual connection to replace the sort of heavily mediated, surface level, social media, actual media, like level of their empathy and their understanding, because that's ultimately all meaningless. But the window is real small, and it shrinks for these kids every day, and the older they get, the less possible it's going to be, and that concept of fairness is going to pop really soon for them. So you got to get to them like at a certain time.